I came up with the idea for this project because I want to help with the current climate crisis in any way I can, and I thought this would be the best way to do so from my own home. I have been propagating plants since I was a child, and I thought now would be the best time to put that skill to use. Setting up each trial took about 15 minutes, but each trial went for 3 weeks. This was to give optimal time for not only the plants to start sprouting, but to continue to grow their roots and to allow them to grow to their fullest extent in the shortest amount of time possible. This research could be used and applied when conserving threatened and endangered plant species in the wild. This is because it is very difficult to create man-made environments that could actually grow the seeds of these plants to the point where they could thrive and grow into a mature plant. Even though it does not harm the plant at all to harvest these seeds, it just isn't feasible for many plant species. That is why water propagation is the next step. Although it does clip a bit off of the plant, therefore harming it, it is often the only way to protect these plants. It's not ideal for all types of plants as they do not thrive in water propagation, but it's the only option for many others. One error that could have occurred is that the water evaporates over time, since the cups are on a windowsill in full sun. Each cup starts out with 16 ounces of water at the start of the project, but the water does evaporate over time, and since each cup is on a different place on the windowsill, the water evaporates at different rates. So one cup could be missing a centimeter or two off the top, one could not be affected at all, one could be missing upwards of 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters off the top. And it's almost impossible to measure the exact amount of water each cup lost each day to get to that exact 16-ounce mark again. So unfortunately, there's not much that can be done about that, and each cup will just be at slight degrees of fullness. Not enough to actually affect the results of the project, but just slight amounts. The end result of the project was that the herb group actually thrives and does the best with water propagation. All 3 ended up sprouting. The oregano, the thyme, and the rosemary sprouted during 2 of the 3 trials. The oregano did not sprout for trial 2, but the other 2 sprouted for all 3 trials very early on and had some of the longest roots out of any of the plants. The succulent group, which is the group I hypothesized to do the best, only had 1 sprout, which was the ghost plant. It sprouted very early on, and it had very full and healthy looking roots, and it had some of the longest roots. But it was the only one. The jade plant and the spider plant did not sprout. With the flowers, there was even less. The pink periwinkle was the only one that sprouted, and it sprouted very near the end, so the one root it did have was very short. The geranium died during the project, and the lavandula didn't change. It stayed alive, but it didn't sprout. Trial 2 was the most varied. The oregano did not sprout during trial 2, and the pink periwinkle actually ended up blooming. I did only use leaf stalks for this project, however there must have been a bud on the cutting that I used, and it sprouted during the project. It didn't grow roots, but it did bloom. The geranium died all 3 trials, and it ended up just being the group that didn't thrive the best, the flowers. So the herbs ended up being the best contestant for the water propagation.